I think that they recognize that we've worked really hard on a whole bunch of issues, not only just nationally but locally, and that they have returned somebody who is so connected to their community on a regular basis that they're just, supportive of the work we want to continue. And I'm grateful for that. I think that's, how I've led my life in politics, and still being a community member here and being someone who's, very rarely stayed in Ottawa even for a weekend. But coming home and being part of this community on a regular basis. And then the work that I do often is reflected from the door knocking. The microbeads issue, where we got the first legislation passed on that in the world, actually, on banning microbeads at a national level. It was done on a statewide in the US, but is a good example. And then most recently, obviously, the sports betting, which is as much about getting organized crime under control in that industry as it is about just betting on a game. These are things that came from local residents, and that's the work I'm going to continue to do, especially after knocking on doors this time again.
So is it now do you sort of go back to Ottawa and it's a continuation, or is it a reset?
It's a little bit of both. So I have work that's already ready. The airport tower is something that still is not saved. I mean, NAV Canada could come back with a study and put this in limbo, and so I have legislation that allows the minister to put the kibosh on that study at any point in time, and I'll already have that tabled and ready as soon as Parliament opens up. The Ojibwe Shores issue and the National Urban Park is certainly important for not only just the environment, but also flood mitigation, and also creating a new dynamic in the city of Windsor, and want to see that moved on. We're ready for that, as well as some consumer rights bills that I have, especially for cell phone, and that are making it easier for Canadians to putting this cost under review. So those are things that I heard. Some new focuses, they've always been part of the repertoire of things we've dealt with in terms of like housing and so forth, but now you just see the pain out there magnified more than ever before in the last number of years. So those have got to be things that we've got to focus on as a country too.
Are there issues that as a minority government you're going to really hammer at to get done?
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll reconvene as a caucus, but again, the cell phone issue in terms of bringing those costs are something we can easily do through regulation right away, and so we'll be putting up some expectations to get that accomplished. The urban parks, I mean, there have been voluntary, kind of these side agreements signed with 8 different cities, but they're not legislation like Point Peely or all the other parks that have done in the country. So I'll be working with other MPs from those areas to say that, hey, we don't want to be second-class citizens when it comes to national urban parks, especially when you look at the Rouge having its own legislation. There's no reason we can't have that. So I'll be looking at all the different members in those areas and regions to build support, because there's money announced and there's money available, and we want to see it transferred now. I mean, if we just go back to another empty promises type of a scenario in Parliament, is more waste of time. So be looking for those that want to make some differences right away.